So what he's saying here, this new king, we're going to have to outsmart these people. We're going to have to be wiser than they are. Now, Jasher has several chapters of war accounts between Jacob and Esau before this starts to happen in Exodus 1. And this is why the king believes that these people will come to war against Egypt instead of fighting with them. This king understands the history between Esau and Jacob, and he knows that every time Esau has gone up against Jacob, Esau has gotten his behind whooped. And he knows that these Hebrew people are not going to take anything from him, so he's going to deal wisely with them. Exodus 1:11 says, "Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses." Now, this Pharaoh sought to put the Israelites firmly under his political foot by tricking them into becoming his slave class. In other words, by tricking them into working for the government. Now, in this connection, the statement that the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, that word rigor is the Hebrew word beforek. And if you separate that word into two words, you get beferach. You get two words that mean with a soft mouth or with gentle speech. Now, there's not much difference between these two Hebrew words, beforek, or the two words beferach. One means crushing oppression. The other means soft or gentle speech. This is also a hint about what was in Pharaoh's dealing wisely or shrewdly with them. The sages say that Pharaoh at first made stirring patriotic speeches asking for volunteers to help build new cities for the glory of Egypt, and that he even molded bricks with his own hands, and that he laid them as foundation stones. And, thousands of people came forward asking to help with the new building projects. These Israelites, they have a habit of being hospitable, right? That was their forefather Abraham. That's what he was known for, was his hospitality. Well, Israelites everywhere are the same way. So the Israelites worked hard to demonstrate their patriotism and strong work ethic. Not only had Joseph saved Egypt during the famine, but Egypt had saved the children of Israel during the famine, and they were grateful. They wanted to work hard to demonstrate their gratitude. So the bait had been set, and it was taken by the Israelites, and pretty soon they found themselves to be slaves. Now, what the Egyptians/Hyksos did was to entice the children of Israel to help out the government by assisting in building projects. So beware the building projects. The children of Israel and the Egyptians worked side by side together for a few weeks, actually a little bit over a year, according to the book of Jasher. But gradually, the Egyptians withdrew from the building projects, leaving only the children of Israel working there. Now, Jasher says that Levi did not participate in this because the Levites smelled a rat and they stayed away. But eventually all the other children of Israel caught on. And by then, though, when they caught on, it was too late. They were beaten if they refused to work, and the reason they refused to work was because the Egyptians stopped paying them wages. So when they got no wages, they said, we're not going to work anymore. Well, the Egyptians beat the tar out of them. So stay away from those building projects. Stay away from government jobs. And now you know that the rest of the story says that the more that the Israelites were oppressed, the more they multiplied and the more they spread around. And they were the dread of the Egyptians. And the Egyptians ruthlessly made them work as slaves. And in fact, it says that they were given mortar and brick. Now, according to Rabbi Lapin on Glenn Beck, the Jews generally see mortar as materialism, a symbol for materialism. That's economic slavery based on the things that you think you have to have. And the bricks, those are us being all the same. You know, in America, this is called the American dream. Every American has a dream, and they're all the same dream. So we all want the same things. All of us bricks, we're all identical. We want the house and the car and the kids and the job and the boat and all the stuff that we want. Okay, that's the American dream. And they push this every day in our media, don't they? So God uses stones to build things. Why does God use stones to build things? It's because each stone is unique. Now, just a few weeks ago, we learned about something else that God likes that's unique, and that's those spotted sheep that Jacob brought with him to the land of Israel. So God seems to like uniqueness. He likes individuality. However, he does like everyone to obey the same. Well, in verse 15 it says, the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah, when you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it's a son, you shall kill him, but if it's a daughter, she shall live. Now, we have a problem here because we have a genocide by decree going on here. Now, this is the first time in the Bible that we have a genocide, and it was not a genocide by soldiers as of yet. Now, there are other people in the Bible who committed genocide, Doeg, Haman, Herod. And then, coming all the way down to modern times, we have, Hitler and Mao Zedong and Che and Chavez and those guys. Well, our next pharaoh is going to commit even more genocidal murders. But notice that at first, it's the it's the medical professionals that were told to use their power to kill the babies. Now, we already have a medical system that kills babies, and now the medical system is trying to also kill the elderly. So, for good reason, we should stay away from the system if possible. Now, I understand that there are many people who need to be seen by the system and need to be cared for by the system, but if it's possible, stay away from there. So this medical professional thing doing the genocide, that's what Obamacare is all about, And I believe that we're also going to see mandatory abortion during this time. The midwives did not kill the babies, and the king of Egypt asked them why, and he says, why have you done this, and why have you let the male children live? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, "It's because the women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." Now, God prospered those midwives for standing up to Pharaoh, which is a clear example of what happens when we obey. But I want you to pay attention to Exodus chapter 1, verse 22. After Pharaoh couldn't get the midwives to accommodate him, he commanded all of his people, the citizens of Egypt. He went outside of the area of Goshen and outside of the children of Israel to get the people. So then is when he sent the soldiers in to take the children, the male children, and kill them. Now, it's very interesting that there was a choice made to throw these children into the water. And guess who was there helping the Pharaoh to make this choice? Well, there were 3 guys there. I bet you'll know all these names: Balaam, Job, and Jethro, Moses' future father-in-law. Now, Jasher 67, starting in verse 40, says that Pharaoh had asked for advice, and the first one that replied was Jethro. And he said, "Now therefore, if it seem good in your eyes, cease from destroying the children of Israel. But if it be not your will that they shall dwell in Egypt, send them forth from here, that they may go to the land of Canaan, the land where their ancestors sojourned." And when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro, he was very angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence and went to Midian his land, and took Joseph's stick with him. Now, Job had a different response. And the king said to Job the Uzite, What sayest thou, Job, and what is your advice respecting the Hebrews?" So Job said to the king, "Behold, all the inhabitants of the land are in your power. Let the king do as seems good in his eyes." And then the king asked Balaam. And the king said to Balaam, "What do you say, Balaam? Speak your word that we may hear it." And Balaam said to the king, "Of all that the king has counseled against the Hebrews will they be delivered, and the king will not be able to prevail over them with any counsel. For if you think to reduce them by the flaming fire, you cannot prevail over them, for surely their God delivered Abraham their father from Ur of the Chaldeans. And if you think to destroy them with a sword, surely Isaac their father was delivered from it, and a ram was placed in his stead. And if with hard and rigorous labor you think to reduce them, you will not prevail even in this. For their father Jacob served Laban in all manner of hard work, and prospered. Now therefore, king, hear my words, for this is the counsel which is counseled against them, by which you will prevail over them, and from which you should not depart. If it please the king, let him order all their children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water. For by this can you wipe away their name, for none of them nor of their fathers were tried in this manner." Now, if you've listened to the Esau effect, you know that Balaam was an Edomite.